Good morning, ma'am. Good morning, buddies. I'm Christian Saviva from B Scheme 1B, and I am here to answer the questions all about the Benevolent Assimilation Proclamation by President McKinley. Let's proceed to question number 1. According to President McKinley, how did he arrive at the decision of annexing the Philippines to the United States? President McKinley arrived at the decision of annexing the Philippines to the United States by implementing the Treaty of Paris that happens in February 6, 1899, which ended the Spanish-American War and forced Spanish to cede the country of Guam, Puerto Rico, including the Philippines, to the United States. In return, the United States paid Spain of almost $20 million for the Philippines. President William McKinley was then faced with a decision of what to do with the Philippines. According to the passage Benevolent Assimilation, paragraph 3, McKinley arrived at the decision of annexing the Philippines to the United States by his realization that it will be, first, dishonorable for them to let the Spaniards oppress the Philippines. Second, that it will be discreditable, bad business, and of great disadvantage if the Philippines will be suppressed by U.S. rivals, by the Western geographic countries, specifically the country of France and Germany. Thirdly, that it will be unfit and inappropriate for the Philippines to be an independent and self-governed country. And lastly, for the fourth, he therefore conclude that United States will be a helping hand and serve as guidance and friend to Philippines, by which they will educate Filipinos, Christianize its people, and manage the political and government system of its land. Let's proceed for the second question. How does the Benevolent Assimilation Proclamation of President McKinley made explicit U.S. intention in the Philippines? The Benevolent Assimilation Proclamation of President McKinley explicit U.S. intention in the Philippines by public proclamation to Filipino people that the annexation of the Philippines to the United States include that purpose of securing the sovereignty of its land against oppressors. As in the proclamation of McKinley states that, in performing this duty, the military commander of the United States is enjoined to make known to the inhabitants of the Philippine Islands that in succeeding to the sovereignty of Spain, in severing the former political relations, and in establishing a new political power, the authority of the United States is to be exerted for the securing of the persons and property of the people of the islands, and for the confirmation of all their private rights and relations. Secondly, Benevolent Assimilation Proclamation President McKinley made explicit U.S. intention in the Philippines includes that the United States clearly states that they are not invaders, rather they are friends that guides and educates the Filipino people, Christianize them, helps the country to its economic status, and assist, manage, and protect the country's political system and issues of external threats. As in the proclamation of McKinley states that it will be the duty of the commander of the forces of occupation to announce and proclaim in the most public manner that we come not as invaders or to conquerors, but as friends to protect the natives in their homes, in their employments, and in their personal and religious rights. Thirdly, the Benevolent Assimilation made explicit U.S. intention in the country of Philippines by instilling freedom rather than applied force to the Philippines. It seeks mutual relationship between the two countries to be in unity for the common good of the Filipino people, for stable government, secured sovereignty, enough education, and Christianized country. It also helps the country to implement peace and order, giving equal justice to its people. As in the proclamation of McKinley states that, finally, it should be the earnest wish and paramount aim of the military administration to win the confidence, respect, affection of the inhabitants of the Philippines by assuring them in every possible way that full measure of individual rights and liberties, which is the heritage of free peoples, and by proving to them that the mission of the United States is one of benevolent assimilation, substituting the mild sway of justice and right of arbitrary rule. Let's proceed for the third question. Why is the document titled Benevolent Assimilation? From the word itself, benevolent, assimilation, benevolent means to be kind and helpful, while assimilation means the process of becoming a part or making someone become a part of a group, country, and society. The document was titled Benevolent Assimilation because it served its purpose to build a harmonious and mutual relationship between the United States and the Filipino people. That the US does not come to invade the country, rather as a friend to its people. It makes them whole as one, helping each other for the good of Filipino people. And the US promotes positive treat to Philippines by educating them, preaching them the gospel of God, guiding them in peace and order, managing its political system, and lastly, securing its sovereignty against foreign invaders. Supported by the passage came from the proclamation of President McKinley that states, the mission, the United States is one of benevolent assimilation, substituting the mild sway of justice and right for arbitrary rule. And for the last question, what were the words in the document that touched the consequences of opposing U.S. annexation of the Philippines? The words in the document that touched the consequences of the opposing U.S. annexation of the Philippines includes, first, when President McKinley said in the passage, "And then I went to bed, and went to sleep, and sleep soundly. And the next morning, I sent forth Chief Engineer of the War Department, our map maker, and I told him to put the Philippines on the map of the United States, pointing to a large map on the wall of his office. And there they are. They will stay while I am the president." Second, words that touch the consequences of opposing U.S. annexation of the Philippines includes that with the signature of the Treaty of the Peace between the United States and Spain by the respective plenipotentiaries at Paris on the 10th instant, and as a result of the victories of American arms, the future control, disposition, and government of the Philippine Islands are ceded to the United States, which indicate that the full control of our country is the United States and not by our own people. And the third, word that touches the consequences of opposing U.S. annexation of the Philippines includes that within the absolute domain of military authority, which necessarily is and must remain supreme in the ceded territory until the legislation of the United States shall otherwise provide, the municipal laws of the territory in respect to private rights and property and the repression of crime are to be considered as continuing in force and to be administered by the ordinary tribunals, so far as practicable. All persons who either by active aid or by honest submission cooperate with the government of the United States to give effect to these beneficent purposes will receive the reward of its support and protection. And for the fourth, Words that touches the consequences of annexation in the Philippines includes while the control of all the public property and the revenues of the state passes with the cession, and while use and management of all public means of transportation are necessarily reserved to the authority of the United States and only for the United States. Private property, whether belonging to the individual or corporation, is to be respected, except for the cause duly established. And lastly, words that touches the consequences of annexation in the Philippines includes that the taxes and duties heretofore payable by inhabitants to the late government become payable to the authorities of the United States unless it be seen fit to substitute them other reasonable rates or modes of contribution to the expenses of government, whether general or local. That's all for the question and answer, all about the Benevolent Assimilation Proclamation by President McKinley. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe. Thank you.